Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story Podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, it's Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. For those of you just tuning in, this is one of my favorite times of year, not because it's holiday time, although that's fabulous as well, because it's the time that we talk about nonprofits and nonprofits as businesses, nonprofits as an industry, the people involved in nonprofits, and what we can learn and how we can better ourselves during the holiday season by knowing that it's not just about receiving, but it's about giving every holiday. So today I'm thrilled to have a guest who speaks near and dear to my heart, Ashley Peoples. Ashley started her career in marketing and advertising and then transitioned that to work at a small real estate agency out in Cape May, New Jersey, where she's originally from, Desanic Real Estate. And she led building that team where she first started with a very, very small team where it's today over 50 employees and salespeople. One of the greatest things about Ashley is she didn't just expand her career as well as expanded her family over the last few years. She's gotten involved and led the beginnings of a variety of different nonprofits. One is she's part of the Life Rolls On, the Desanic Foundation, as well as her sister started a nonprofit and she started orchestrating and becoming involved in that called NextGen 30. She is truly a woman on the move and a woman who does not play small and is committed to this world. So Ashley, welcome and thank you for being here today.
Hi, Ivy. Thanks so much for having me. This is awesome.
So marketing and advertising, started working in New York City, went back home, obviously clearly picked a great organization that was on the up and coming and on the move up, and you've been able to grow your career with this. But what drove you to get started in the nonprofits at the same time?
I guess I've always kind of been a service-oriented person. I went to Catholic school K through 12. So community service was always something that at school was a requirement when I was younger. And then as I grew up, it just became part of my life, doing things for other people, donating time when you could, giving back to the community. Specifically though, when I started working for Desanic Real Estate, I met my boss's brother, Chad. Chad, if you don't know him, he's a very energetic guy. He ended up starting his own foundation, the Desanic Foundation. And I did a lot of volunteering for him, helping him organize events, working back at the house to organize email lists and that kind of stuff. And once you start with one person, you kind of start getting connected to other foundations as well. So that's kind of how it got started for me once I was a professional and not in school anymore.
And, it's so interesting because I think is when you are exposed young and because I've seen it with other young professionals, my daughter included, that once you get started young, being aware and being committed to creating change, creating an impact, and getting involved in organizations, it's tough to let it go.
It is. And because once you're in it, people remember that you're in it and they'll be like, oh, I work for this nonprofit and I need this person to do that. And you just get connected. It's like a dot. And then someone will be reaching out to you and be like, hey, I heard you did this for X, Y, and Z. Can you do it for me too? And you're like, sure. So it kind of gets you even more involved just by the nature of it all.
And, the one thing that you've done, or it appears that you have done, is you've taken your sweet spot and everybody thinks about, nonprofit. And when I talk about giving and receiving, we think about writing that check or putting our credit card down and just giving some money is the right thing to do. There's so many other ways. And one of the things you've done is you've taken your skill set in marketing and given the service of your skills.
Yes.
Can you share more about why you do that and how that's impactful for the organization?
It's funny. So when you think about donating or doing something for someone, a lot of people think money first. But when you're running a nonprofit, things you might not think about are you need a logo. You need someone to do design work for ads. You need to have an idea of how to organize a mailing list. Like, these are just simple tasks, and keeping a database of people that have donated in the past and reaching back out to them when you're looking for donations again. So that's really how I got started in all of this. Like, I started organizing Chad Desatnik's database and figuring out what groups we should be marketing to on a yearly or bi-yearly basis, just to get them to donate more. So that's what I give to the table. I've used people as attorneys to help us get started when we were first forming our 501c3. I've used accountants. You just need professionals who are willing to do things pro bono or at a discount that can help you get started. So it's been beneficial for us, for sure.
And, you have the skill set of where you started with a small real estate company that has flourished and grown times 5 in the years you've been there.
Yes.
People wise, and that is revenue wise, and that is, marketing wise. And in the same way, you've taken that idea of the small, right, and lending that hand to the organizations and helping them grow.
Yes. And with the growth of our company, Ivy, like, I've been introduced to more people. So we started with 10 people who had, say each person had 10 connections. Well, now you have 50 people that have 10 to 20 connections. So the amount of people at your dispense, like, the more connections you make, it's unreal how many you can have in your circle that are willing to help you.
What are some of, because you've been so involved in business as well as nonprofit, what are some of the similar challenges you see as well as some of the differences?
A lot of it is time management and being able to delegate. For me, I'm sometimes a bit of a control freak, and I like things done my way. With doing the nonprofit, you accept that someone's going to do something differently than you, and it might not be the way you would do it, but it still gets the job done, and it's, efficient, and it's also being like directional and intentional with how you give and ask for people's time. I always would, when I donate my time, I want to know what I'm going to be doing with it and what the expectation is. And the same thing at work. And if we have a big project we're working on, I want to know what the timeline is, and I want to know what the expectation is. So there's a lot of similarities in just being able to work with people and communicate well.
I think you hit on 2 of the major things that we hear from all of our clients and businesses overall, is the ability to communicate well and the ability to delegate well. Mm-hmm. And those 2 abilities create where leadership shines overall, no matter what level of management you're in.
Exactly. Like, if you know the expectation and you know the common goal and you know the breakdown of how you're expected to get there, I mean, it's amazing what people can do with good leadership and direction. So I see that in the for-profit and nonprofit sector all the time.
So what is some of the biggest impacts in the nonprofit world? Because when we look at the different sizes of nonprofits, I would say the nonprofits you're involved in are more of a boutique, right? Smaller, community-based. Share a little bit of a few of the different organizations you're involved in, and then I'd love to expand on that and let our listeners say, well, how do they see what's going on in their communities?
Okay. Well, I'm involved very much so with my sister's nonprofit. We formed NextGen 30 in honor of my late sister, Jenny Farnan. She was diagnosed with a glioblastoma brain tumor at the age of 26, and she passed away 3 years later after fighting like hell. So we kind of got motivated when she passed. We had the obituary and we asked for, in lieu of flowers, hey, can you donate to the Lunch with Lynch Foundation? John Lynch is a very good family friend. He was instrumental when my sister was sick. He threw like 2 or 3 benefits for her to help with medical bills. And if you met John Lynch, like, he is just someone that you want in your life. He's just like a beacon of light. So we had all these donations sent to his foundation. And after the funeral, he called us and he was like, I just want to let you know that there was like several thousands of dollars in donations given. And I'd like to help you set up a scholarship fund in Jenny's name. Now, this is like 2 weeks after Jenny passed, and our family, we were just in the thick of mourning, and we were like, sure, John, that sounds great. But after we did it, it was awesome. We were like, we got to keep this going. And 2 years later, we sat down and we're like, we should run our own nonprofit. Like, we have enough support. And that's how we started with NextGen 30. And I talked to Chad about it, Desatnik, who works for the Desatnik Foundation. He kind of gave me a couple pointers, and I started putting me in a direction that got us to where we are today.
So, a couple of things I'm hearing is, one, it's, wow, we should do this, right?
Yes.
And then how do you do it?
Yes.
And, right. It's like, okay, so this happened, and I'm going back 35 or close, over 30 years, when my roommate from college passed, and a small nonprofit was started in her name, one of my closest friends. And it's these, what we could refer to infancy or baby organizations that we don't think about so much. But let's look at the impact they're making. So if we look at NextGen 30, what is the impact? So it was focused on scholarship. So share a little bit now about where that is going and how that's impacting people.
Well, the scholarship kind of got us started. And then when we founded the foundation itself, our mission statement was to perform at least 30 acts of kindness annually in the communities that Jenny loved. So that kind of gives us a pretty open book to do what we want, prioritizing health and education of young people. So we still do the scholarships, but we've done everything from turn somebody's electric on that was, falling on hard times. We helped another family, their daughter is having multiple surgeries and she's an infant. We sent them some, go play money or do whatever you need to with it, money. We recently, when COVID first hit, we actually sent a whole bunch of iPads to a nursing home that was very much affected by COVID. They lost a bunch of staff. They lost a bunch of residents that were living there so that they could see their families. So we've been able to do a lot just in our little community. And if you don't know Cape May County, it's pretty small down here. Everybody's like 2 steps away from the other person. So if I don't know you, I know somebody that knows you down here. So it's kind of nice that we have such a direct impact and we can really see what we're doing in our community, which has been great.
And, for a small community, you've been sharing that there's room for a bunch of different organizations.
There is. Like I said, Chad Desatnik, who works with me here with his brother, has his own foundation. John Lynch over in Wildwood has his own foundation. And we kind of all work together. I bounce a lot of ideas off both of those guys quite frequently. Like, hey, I'm about to do this event. What do you suggest I do to make sure that I hit A, B, and C? Something you might not think about is something as simple as like liability insurance for an event when you're hosting it. When you don't do these things, you don't know that. And it helps to have a community of other people that do it all the time to talk to. So I've definitely sounded off both of them quite a bit.
And I love that because it's so true. Keep the people who are doing what you're doing close to your world. People are always thinking in the business side of things, oh, my competition, like not too close. I want to make sure I'm unique and different. And my thought is, oh my goodness, my competition, let's all sit down and have lunch and brainstorm together because we're all out in the marketplace together. And what a great resource. And the same thing, what I'm hearing you say is in nonprofits.
Yes, it's good to talk to your colleagues. I mean, it always is, they have these in realtors, like we have these big conventions where, they get all the realtors together, you go to all these like webinars and stuff. I mean, in nonprofit, it's pretty much the same. Like you need to have the resources of other people who have done it. And it doesn't have to be earth-shattering things that you're doing. You just kind of have to have a direction to go to, a door to knock on per se. Like, all right, I know I need to do this. I was point it to these people that might be able to assist me with it. And that's really what we've done. I've had people help me with attorneys, with accountants, with social media. Just the amount of volunteer work that goes into running a nonprofit. It's not a ton of work when you have a lot of people helping you.
So, if we have some listeners today saying, gee, I always wanted to do this little thing, can you walk us through like maybe a 1, 2, 3 on a smaller, before we create the next cancer care or, huge global foundations, how does the little small nonprofit, what are one of the 1, 2, 3 things they need to know to get started?
I think the biggest thing is set your intention. What do you want to do? There's so many people out there that need help. So it's what's going to be your niche? What is going to be your focus on how you're going to make an impact? Once you have that, just start talking to people. Do you really want to go into the 501c3 arena? We're a really small foundation. We only raise like less than $50,000 a year. If you want to go bigger than that, you're in a different tax bracket. So you definitely need an attorney and an accountant to talk to. And you'd be amazed at how many people are in your realm typically that would be willing to just do that pro bono or at a discounted rate when they hear that you're, a nonprofit and you're trying to do X, Y, and Z. Then you get your bylaws together, you submit a form to the IRS, and you kind of just wait. And then once you get your approval, that's when you have your problems. Like you got to figure out, all right, now that I've got my approval, I need a website, some simple social media. You don't need to do everything social media. Do like 1 or 2 and do it really well. You don't need to be on everything.
I think that that is one of the biggest lessons learned. Nonprofits and businesses, know where your people are, pick 1 or 2 simple things to do and get started doing it. Yeah. That's brilliant.
And do it well. Yeah. Whatever 1 or 2 things you're going to do it well. And if you set a mission, make sure you hit your mission every single time. That's the other thing. I mean, we try to very much everything that we're asked to do in the community, we make sure that, hey, this is hitting health or education. It's in our community and it fits with what Jenny would have wanted. That's kind of been like our guiding light. And I think we've done really well at staying on task there. And then we're not stepping on our other foundation's toes because we're out here doing our thing. And then we also will donate to them and help, as part of our mission. So it all comes full circle and it's really kind of fun to do. We enjoy it.
So as a young mom, right? You have little ones now.
3.
Oh my. So you're a mom of 3 kids working full-time, involved in several different nonprofits. Yep. What is one message you can give forward to
Bring the kids with you. Bring them with you. I have no problem throwing them. We circle the wagons all the time. They come with me. They're at events. They're, I got a baby on the hip. I'm taking tickets at the door. People love kids and, don't let that hold you back by any means. Bring them with you, have them at the events, let them see you doing the work. My son is 7 now. I have a daughter that's 4 and then I have 10 months. So my 7 and 4-year-old, they're right there. They'll sell raffle tickets. They'll do anything I tell them to do and they love it. And I think it's a good base for them to see, hey, on your time, give time back and help other people. It gets them thinking intentionally too, which I think is good.
And lastly, I think that's great. And it's so true. How do we create a better world for tomorrow? It's with teaching our kids today.
Yeah. pretty simple.
It
seems a lot harder.
What a damn simple concept.
And I'll tell you, everybody wants to hold a baby. It's kind of funny. Maybe not now during COVID, but prior to COVID, I could always get somebody to watch somebody for me.
Touche to that. So how can our listeners learn more about you, Ashley, as well as the great organizations you're involved with, and begin to learn and model and not hold back, jump in and begin their own and make a difference and bring their kids, come one and come all?
Yeah, first I would say check out our website. We're on the web, nextgen30.com. You can donate there, or if you can't donate right now, do an act of kindness. We're asking for 30 acts of kindness for Jenny's birthday month. So we're kind of posting and hashtagging there on Instagram and Facebook. You can check us out on their social media too. And if you're thinking about getting started, just start asking those initial questions and reaching out to the people in your community that can help you get there. It's one step at a time, kind of like how 2020 has been. And, start small and nothing. You don't have to do anything earth shattering to get started. You don't have to give away $10,000. It could be, I'm going to buy this person a cup of coffee, start with a smile, and move intentionally from there. It's really just being directive with your time and your energy.
I love that. And you could start with a smile. You could start by sharing a smile and sharing a cup of coffee.
Literally.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's not what you can't do. It's not what's out of your realm. It's showing up every day with what you can do, and show up with a smile, show up with a small gift for somebody else forward. It does not have to be $100,000. It can be a dime, nickel, or quarter.
Yes.
Ashley, thank you. Listeners, always remember you can connect with Ashley. The links are 100% below. Don't worry if you didn't get the correct spelling of her name, if you didn't get NextGen 30, if you didn't see how to connect with Ashley on LinkedIn. The way to do this is to just check the links below. And I encourage you to connect. It's always about taking that one small action forward. One action leads to a second action and a third. And in those 3 steps, we can begin to change the world. So thank you for joining me, Ashley, today and sharing your knowledge and your insight.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun.
It has been fun. And my mind's been going a mile a minute. I have to try to stay on track with questions because I'm like, oh, wow, we could be doing this and this and that. In that light, listeners, please remember to hit subscribe. We come into your inbox every Monday morning. And of course, leave a comment and a note. What about today's interview, conversation with Ashley meant the most to you? Please feel free to leave a review and a comment. Thank you for joining us here today. We'll see you next week back at Her Success Story.